Testing. Test. Okay, hello everybody. I turn off the fish tank. I saw that my last live stream they had some noise inside. I realized the microphone gain was actually on full, and also had the fish tank and some fans for the UPS here, so I turned them off. Hopefully the sound is okay now. Let me know how is the sound. If you hear any background noises or just me. Okay. Just for a few minutes. They'll be okay, Elisha. Don't worry. Okay, so how is the sound? It's clear? Any background noise? Okay, just check. I think it's clear. Okay, so we're gonna have. I'm gonna be trying to do these live streams as I promised. I didn't do for the last 2-3 days. I was kind of very busy, but I'm trying to find schedule for this as well. So we're gonna start with this stream. The title of this stream it's Ukraine winter peace push plus Middle East escalation. We have news from Ukraine, from Gaza. So let me just go through the headlines. So civilians in Ukraine suffer as winter sets in, attacks escalate. Israel's Gaza ceasefire under strain as winter storm looms and violations mount. Your favorite Gaza. Gaza children hospitalized for acute malnutrition despite ceasefire. New Israel airstrikes hit southern Lebanon as ceasefire violations rise. U.S. 2025 national security strategy signals shift away from Middle East, Russia and China focus. Russia pressed by loses strategic course of taking Pokrovsk reveal. Technology and threat. U.S. intelligence warns of expanding role of drones, missiles, cyber in 2025 threat landscape. Middle East flashpoint. Gaza ceasefire. Talks fracture as Hamas demands more pressure on Israel. International pressure mounts as journalists death toll from Israel, Gaza war soars. Okay, and let's start one by one. Also, Zelensky to share revised peace plan with US amid Ukraine war pressures. Okay, I'll put the article on the screen. Let me see how I can have the chat also here so I can see the chat. So put the chat here as well. Okay. So we have the first article from The Guardian. Zelensky, he shared a revised plan with the US. Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Ukraine will submit a revised 20-point peace plan to the United States following recent high-level talks in London. Situation, how it is. Gives 6 concrete US security guarantees and long-term financial and military support before engaging into deeper negotiations. The revised plan reportedly removes the most anti-Ukrainian elements, but territorial integrity remains non-negotiable. Russia may view this as diplomatic pressure. Kyiv and its allies are trying to show unity, but Moscow might interpret this as weakness or a chance to press further. And strong settlement could push for renewed NATO-Europe support and help reshape the front lines. A bad deal could lead to a renewed offensives. Let's go through the article as well. It's from The Guardian, as I said. Basically what I summarized it so here in this article. Trump also said there was no question that Russia was in a stronger negotiating position in talks over ending Ukraine war, saying Ukraine Zelensky will have to get on board and start accepting things. Trump also pointedly criticized Europe leaders to taking too much but not producing, as war just keeps going on. Let me see where I put this microphone. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Germany Chancellor Friedrich Merz has criticized parts of US narrative in recent days, saying that it's unacceptable from the European point of view, with the US Foreign Policy Chief Kallas and the European Council President Antonio Gaza also expressing their frustration with the tone coming from Washington. So that's the situation now. Of course, Ukraine is in a stronger. Russia, it's the one who is making the terms. Russia, if the one who is winning, they are actually the one who they're gonna have the last word. Ukraine is not accepting to give any territory away, but that's actually it's been the reason they are not finding a peace so far. Let's stay in Ukraine. Civilians in Ukraine suffer as winter sets in attacks escalate. Freeze, thaw cycles and power network damage magnify the humanitarian cost of continued hostilities. Russia's bombardments likely aim to degrade Ukrainian infrastructure and morale during the harshest season, winter. Winter hardships place additional pressure on Ukrainian leadership to seek faster resolution, potentially facilitating peace and deal momentum. Once the military aid and winterized support hitting power shelters become increasingly critical to prevent civilian catastrophe. Civilians across Ukraine endure a surge in deadly strikes over the weekend, with the UN warning alarming pattern of intensifying hostilities and mounting damage to essential services as temperature continues to drop. Speaking in New York Monday, US spokesperson Stephanie told journalists the UN Humanitarian Office was deeply concerned by the scale and spread of the latest attacks. In recent days, we have seen an alarming pattern of intensified hostilities in frontline areas and persistent attacks on critical civilian infrastructure. Between Friday and early hours of Monday morning, authorities reported more than 100 civilian casualties, including nearly 20 deaths. 2 cheetahs were reportedly killed and several more injured. The worst hit regions were Sumy, Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Zaporizhia. Let's see the map on the latest where they are right now. Okay. So they are advancing on the Mironat. Here it's Mironat. Let me see if you can see on the screen. Here was a Keso, this area, Mironat, and Solotki, here. That's from December 6, December 7, Katerinkia, this area here. And from December 8th, they also been advancing in many other places, but the most important one has been Pokrovsk, here. Pokrovsk here, sorry. Let's go a little bit back. You can see how within one day they took the whole area here next to Novopavlika, like from the 6th of December, 7th, the 8th, they took the whole area there. It looks like they closed from all the sides, so it was easier to take it and just occupy the whole area. In where the Suki, Lysivka, Novopavlivka. This whole area has been occupied. And here it's Mirnohrad, which they've been pushing from Moskovsky. Let's see, I took it already. December 2nd, December 3rd, December 4th, December 5th, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. You can see how fast they are moving actually, so if this curve continues, you will be no grain left. Okay, let's go on with the other news. So let's go to Gaza now. Israel's Gaza ceasefire under strain as winter storm looms and violations mount. Sorry. Let's open the article. AP News. Wait. So, Hamas is calling for more international pressure on Israel before ceasefire next phase. Hamas on Tuesday called for more international pressure on Israel before they need to approve with the next phase. So now we're on the next phase of Trump's plan, the second phase actually we are, with the Hamas leader saying it wants Israel to open key border crossing, cease deadly strikes and allow more aid into the Strip. The demand comes as Israel's government says it's ready to move into the next and more complicated phase of US President Donald Trump's 20-point ceasefire agreement, while calling on Hamas to return the remains of the last Israeli hostages held in Gaza as envisioned in the deal. Of the last, it's only one left Israeli hostage that they haven't returned the remains. a member of Hamas political wing, called the full implementation of all the terms of the first phase before moving forward, including the end to what he called the continuing demolition of Palestinian homes in the majority of the territory still controlled by Israel. Israel airstrikes and shootings in Gaza have killed at least 366 Palestinians. Of course, take these numbers with a grain of salt, so we don't know who is actually reporting the actual casualties, and if the casualties are Palestinians or Hamas, they never clarify. So don't believe the numbers, just take them with a grain of salt. Took hold on October 7 according to Palestinian health officials. A difficult second phase. Batran said it was not possible to enter the second phase of the ceasefire unless the steps he demanded were taken. Remarks that reflect a hardening tone from Hamas. However, the group has little leverage in ceasefire negotiations that could come under heavy pressure from regional powers like Qatar and Turkey to not hit the brakes on the fragile truce. Israel has also accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire and says illegal strikes in Gaza are retaliation for military attacks against soldiers, and that its troops have fired on Palestinians who approach the yellow line, a vague line between Israel-controlled territory and the rest of Gaza. Lack of aid. As for the crisis continues in Gaza, the United Nations and other aid organizations said that not nearly enough aid is entering the territory. They've been complaining about the aid forever, but when we had the live cameras seeing the aid, we can see how much aid actually was pouring into the strip, and how much of the aid was actually reaching the final destination. We saw those on live streams, and we saw how many of those. We saw even the aids be taken by Hamas before it reached any civilians. Those all we saw in the live stream, so we know what is the truth. But right now we're going through the news, looking at the headlines. But I know most of you who've been here on this channel, thank you, by the way, all the members or subscribers. Thanks all for following the channel. You all know the truth. You all know from first hand what's happening with the aid. But the UN Humanitarian Agency said in last week report that many of the commercial goods in the market remain unaffordable for many Palestinians, and dietary diversity remains poor, with essential produce source still largely unavailable. A key border crossing. The ceasefire deal also calls for the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt to be open for traffic in both directions. Let's go and see the map actually. Let's open Google Earth. You know the Rafah crossing, where it is. Let me open here. Hold a second. Google Earth. Okay, so let's fly to Gaza, to Rafah crossing. It's a crossing between Gaza and Egypt. Okay, there's a cross here. Also some maps. Okay, I don't like this. 1 minute. Okay, here is the Gaza map. Here the Rafah crossing. I'm sure you all who've been members long enough, you are already aware of this. But let's just put it on the screen for the rest who don't know. Rafah crossing, it's here between Egypt and Gaza. The Keres Shalom, from where the goods coming, we saw the trucks usually entering. It's a Keres Shalom crossing. It has Gaza, a race crossing from the other side, Israel here. And let's see here, they mark with the yellow the urban areas, refugee camps. It's one here, another one here, they're spread all over Gaza. Okay, the border crossing, we saw them already. And the no-go area, it's like a buffer zone between Israel and Gaza, all this red. So, in a nutshell, the reported violations may further erode trust in ceasefire mechanisms and complicate negotiations for phase 2. A looming winter storm intensifies risk to displaced populations. Water, shelter, and medical access are already scarce, as we know in Gaza. According to the source here we have in the humanitarian crisis could force international agencies and foreign governments to impose pressure or sanctions based on civilian suffering. A fragile peace may collapse if conditions worsen, both military and politically, dragging the region back into a full conflict. So we might have a restart of the Gaza conflict from all over again. So, the headline, Gaza children are hospitalized for acute malnutrition despite ceasefire. Let me put here on the screen, I'm reading my notes here. I don't show. Okay. So, Gaza children, okay, close this. So they say for that the children not getting enough food or the variety of the food. The shortfall in aid delivery reveals structural issues, border access control, logistics and political will all hinder effective humanitarian response. Continue suffering among children and mothers, increase international pressure on all parties, could trigger renewed conflict or wider regional intervention if ignored. Any future peace framework must guarantee safe, embedded humanitarian corridors. Otherwise, the ceasefire becomes meaningless for Gaza population survival. You can tell this photo, it's actually from Gaza, with the hospital camera we used to have on live stream on the street. why they have all the Bazaraki going on. We used to watch this camera for many days. So let's go now to you. Anyway, let me talk with you on the stream. What do you think is going to happen with Gaza? Do you think it's going to start all over again? We're going to have a restart of the war, of the conflict? Let me put a poll here. Let's see what you think. I want to hear your opinion. And before that, actually, because on the channel we try to analyze things and we try to just go behind the headlines, I want to actually remind people what is the second phase. The second phase of Trump plans of the 20-point ceasefire. Let's let me get the headlines from that. Let me get the headline from the ChatGPT, easy to analyze. So what is the second phase of Trump's 20-point of Trump's plan on Gaza? Let's give ChatGPT a title. All right, we're doing this live. So what's phase 2 supposed to do? According to research, so the first one, disarmament of Hamas, that's means demilitarization of Gaza, destruction or confiscation of Hamas offensive weapons, tools, military infrastructure. The goal, remove the capacity of future large-scale military threats from Gaza. Withdrawal of Israeli forces plus territorial reset. Israeli troops to pull back from much of Gaza beyond the so-called Yellow Line as part of winding down the immediate war occupation. This should pave the way to Gaza transition to new governance, rather than remain under prolonged Israeli military control. Deployment of international stabilization force. So we're not clear who is going to be stabilization force. The international is asking for USA to take part of it. USA has been not answering. They're going to take part of the stabilization force in Gaza. Probably the UN will be there. We'll see who's going to actually be there. Israel doesn't want Turkey to be there. Doesn't want Turkey to step in a foot on Gaza, so it's a kind of complicated, kind of confusing who is going to be actually the stabilization force. Here it says a multinational security force, draw from countries willing to contribute to enter Gaza to maintain order, train local police, and ensure demilitarization sticks. This fully operate in coordination with Israel, Egypt, and newly formed interim Gaza government. Establishment of transitional governance structure, Board of Peace, plus technocratic government, an interim internationalized supervised body, Board of Peace, led by Trump and other international figures to oversee Gaza's administration, reconstruction, and the transition process. and beneath it, a Palestinian technocratic government composed of individuals not affiliated with Hamas or other major fractions to manage day by day civil administrative service and reconstruction. The question there arises now, how they're going to separate Hamas from Palestinians. Anyways, reconstruction and economic revival of Gaza. Massive rebuilding efforts in Gaza, infrastructure, housing, services, humanitarian support, economic development to help displaced people return, or at least stabilize those who remain. Okay, they will return, but where they will be staying? I mean, most of the Gaza is already flat. I'm gonna put actually after this, I will show some images of Gaza before and Gaza after. So you're gonna see how much of Gaza still remains how much of Gaza still remains. Renew public services and governance under international supervision to restore semblance of normal life, long-term vision, stability, path toward Palestinian self-governance, statehood. The plan envisions that once Gaza is stabilized, demilitarized, and reconstruction is underway, the administration could transition activity toward a reformed Palestinian Authority or a future Palestinian state. The intention: break the cycle of war, reduce militant threats, and create conditions for lasting peace settlement. So here, what are the major challenges and what could go wrong? Many things could go wrong. Hamas may refuse to disarm. He's already refusing. Disarmament remains the most contentious issue. Hamas has reportedly signaled resistance, lack of clarity or commitment on the international force, no firm troop commitments, and clear command structure are set a date for deployment. Governance vacuum, political gridlock, disagreement among stakeholders, Israel, Palestinians, Arab states, international community, or who governs Gaza? And under what legitimacy? Fragile reconstruction, funding, and humanitarian challenges. Gaza is devastated, and rebuilding will require massive funds and sustained international support. Trust issues and resistance from local population. Many Palestinians may distrust a technocratic interim government or international oversight, especially if rights identified or retained are perceived as compromise. Risk of relapse into instability or violence. If disarmament or withdrawal is mishandled, or if Hamas retains underground capacity, the enclave could remain a powder keg. My analysis: why phase 2 is so risky. The logic of phase 2 is coherent of paper. Remove Hamas military threat, demilitarize Gaza, rebuild it, normalize security, and pave a path toward long-term governance and potential Palestinian statehood that could offer a real chance for stability. But success depends on many moving parts working together. Disarmament, Israeli withdrawal, international force deployment, funding, governance, Palestinian buy-in. If even one phase, the whole plan collapses. So it's many pieces together. They all have to work. They all have to fit perfectly. If one of these pieces doesn't fit or doesn't work right, then the whole thing is poof. The biggest wild card is Hamas. If they refuse to disarm, they are refusing already, we know that, or partially comply, they may resort to underground tactics, which could reignite conflict. International committees, troops, funds, diplomatic coverage are at center. If international partners bulk or withdraw support, Gaza could be left in limbo. Finally, legal legitimacy and population sentiment matter. Gaza civilians have suffered war, displacement, trauma. A foreign-led technocratic authority may struggle to gain trust. So in short, the second phase, why potentially transformative, rests on a fragile and complex chain of events. If they click, it could reshape Gaza and the region for the better. But if it's just a few links break, Gaza risks becoming a long-term unstable zone again. ChatGPT here is asking if you want to run the scenarios, best case and worst case scenario. So what do you think? What do you want to see? The best case scenario, worst case scenario, or the most likely? Let's go with the most likely. So the most likely scenario, according to ChatGPT, so this is AI. Of course, it does mistakes. It makes mistakes. We just going through it. Doesn't mean it's perfect. We just go through it, read it, and we can form our opinions. Hamas will not fully disarm. Even the AI knows. Hand over some heavy weapons. Allow limited inspection in specific zones. Keep underground networks and light arms hidden. Israel will accept the perfect outcome if violence stays low. Yes, Israel, I believe they will accept the perfect outcome. Yes, because they don't want to start over this war. They're not really want to it, but they want to, of course, don't go back to zero. They want to also show that the war was a success. So if the violence is low and not causing them big issues politically and inside the government, and making the people to go back to the street again, then Israel will accept that. So let's see, reality check. According to ChatGPT, according to an AI algorithm, full disarmament is extremely unlikely. Partial compliance is the typical Middle East negotiation pattern. Yes, that's what's been happening in the Middle East. Nothing gets fully agreed, just partially. So Israel force withdraw gradually, not fully. So here he believes that the Israel force will not fully leave Gaza. Israel will likely pull back from dense urban areas, keep some forces near the yellow line, continue drone surveillance and target operations. The withdrawal will be slow and conditional, not a clean exit. Reason: Israel wants assurance that Hamas cannot quickly rearm. Of course, they want the safety of their people. They want to have the people not scared of what's happening in October 8th, October 7th. A limited multinational force likely from Egypt, UAE, Morocco, possibly Jordan. Western nations contribute training, not combat troops. They will focus on, this is for the International Stabilization Force, they will focus on policing, protecting aid routes, supporting the technocratic government. No major Western boots on the ground, political risk is too high. Technocratic Palestinian government is tall but weak. So in case you're going to have a Palestinian government in Gaza, here the OpenAI believes it will be weak. A civilian technocratic leadership will be formed, however, it will lack strong legitimacy among Palestinians. Hamas will still exert influence informally. Israel and US will shape major decisions. So the government will be there just for like the front of the shop. They will not. They will be controlled by the US and Israel. The government will be there just for, let's say, for decoration. Expectation: a fragile transitional government that mainly manages services, not politics. So the government will be just for services, not for the politics, not for governing the people, but just for doing some services until Gaza will be reconstructed. Reconstruction begins slow and underfunded. Money will come from the Gulf states, US and Europe, but not enough. Hospitals, water system, shelters for displaced people, full rebuilding of Gaza will take years, not months. This is what Trump was saying, that it could take months, but for sure it will not take just months, it will take years. After you see the photos I will show you of Gaza before and after, you will understand that the whole Gaza needs to be reconstructed from the bottom, from zero. Gaza becomes a managed stability zone, not peace, not war, a controlled low-level stability. Occasional flare-ups or protests likely. Hamas remains present but weakened. Israel maintains deterrence without major ground operations. I want to see the chart a bit. Okay. Was there even a disarm requirement? Yes, the disarm was actually from the beginning. This is the second phase. The disarm requirements are like one of the most important points of the second phase. they expect the full disarm from the Hormuz. This is one of the points of the second phase. Occasion of okay. So what this means, the plan will not achieve its full version, but phase 2 will likely reduce violence and stabilize daily life somewhat. Hormuz surviving partially means long-term uncertainty remains. International involvement provides stability, but not enough to create a lasting political solution. Reconstruction without political settlements risks future cycles of conflict. Overall, a fragile, partially successful stabilization process better than war, but far from true peace or permanent resolution. Okay, that was informative. Getting a general idea. So let's see some photos for, as I promised, from Gaza before and Gaza now, or let's say Gaza after. Okay, let's do it on a new window. Let's do a new capture here. Okay. So, this is, okay, I have it on the left. Let me put my magic cursor. 10 of October 2023. Okay, let's put a little bit on there. Okay, here we have Gaza in 10th of October 2023 and Gaza 21st of October 2023. You can see here the buildings, obviously. Here you can see the flat area. Gaza before and after, another picture here. Here a satellite image that shows the Gaza before and after from BBC News. Here, before, after. Here, before, this main road, and after. I was before the buildings, and here, after. Let me see what I can find here. Here, Gaza then, before and after. This is the same road. This road, the whole strip here, the road we saw before, and the same road after, this part. Before, after. It's after. Okay, you're getting the point. Most of the Gaza it's already flat. Okay, so do you believe, let me hear the opinion in the chat. Do you believe that this reconstruction will take months or will take years with international help? What's your opinion? Will it take months or years to reconstruct the whole Gaza? Of course, if there's no more fighting going on. Let's say everything goes smoothly, the second phase succeeds, how long it would take to complete the reconstruction? Okay, let's move on. Headline here, the US 2025 National Security Strategy signals shift away from Middle East, Russia and China focus. So, the US National Security Strategy, US 2025, it looks like they're going to be focusing more in Russia and China from here on. The recently released 2025 US National Security Strategy outlines a reduced focus on the Middle East. Instead, Washington is pivoting towards strategic competition with Russia and China, energy independence, and broader trade power rivalry. This shift could leave regional voids. Traditional US clients and allies might seek alternative security partners, increasing influence from Russia, China, or regional authoritarian powers. Reduced US presence may lower the deterrence threshold for asymmetric actors or state-backed militias operating across the Middle East. The reorientation toward Russia and China escalates the risk of proxy conflicts and intensified competition in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and Indo-Pacific. Middle East hotspots, Gaza, Lebanon, Iran may become more volatile as US distraction undermines traditional stabilizing influence. We have this fear from two sources. Let's read all them. Okay, open with the DD. So this is an article released by the US 2025 National Security Strategy on Thursday, calling for a reduced focus on the Middle East after Israel and the United States greatly weakened Iran. The 33-page document, here's the document also, let's have a look. Here's the documents from the National Security. Who wants to read it? Let me know, I can provide I'll give you the link on the chat. Who wants to read it? Just have to find the chat. Here we are. Here's the article. So, it's a 33-page document. It describes how centrality of the Middle East for energy production and as a theater for superpower competition has diminished in recent years. Energy supplies have diversified greatly, with the United States once again a net energy exported. The report says superpower competition has given way to great power jockeying, in which the United States remains the most viable position, reinforced by President Donald Trump's successful revitalization of our alliance in the Gulf with other Arab partners and with Israel. Conflict remains the Middle East's most troublesome dynamic, but there is today less to this problem than headlines might lead one to believe. It does. Iran, the region's chief destabilizing force, has been greatly weakened by Israel actions since October 7 and President Trump June 2025 Operation Midnight Hammer, which degraded Iran's nuclear program. Midnight Hammer was an operation that would have the B-52 bombers that they bombed with the nuclear power plants of Iran. It describes the Israel-Palestinian conflict as a thorny, but says, in the wake of a ceasefire for hostage agreement, progress toward a more permanent peace has been made, and that Hamas chief backers have been weakened or stepped away. Israel's security, along with the freedom of navigation around the Arabian Peninsula, securing energy supplies, and defeating terrorist groups, are listed as America's core interests in the region. Anyways, it's an interesting article. Whoever wants to read it, I gave the link on the chat. Now let's fly to Russia. Russia, braced by Lucy's strategic loss of taking Pokrovsk, reveal. A recent analysis shows that although Pokrovsk in Ukraine was declared captured by Russia President Vladimir Putin, the cost has been extremely high, involving heavy armor losses and thousands of troops. The capture might be more propaganda than strategic breakthrough. Okay, this source is from Russia, so expect they're going to show their own site. Because premature. So here they say that Russia, Vladimir. Okay, let me move this here. Vladimir Putin declared on December 2nd, 2025 that the strategically important Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk had fallen. It was premature military threat, but arriving on the eve of negotiations to end the Russia-Ukraine war, its timing was perfect in terms of Russia highly successful disinformation. What the heck? Okay, successful disinformation campaign against Washington. According to the Institute of the Study of War, George Barrow's The Washington Post, Barrow's characterized Russia's 20-month-long assault on Pokrovsk as serious loss for Ukraine, but big victory for Russia, who only take full control of the city after having sacrificed at least 5 divisions worth of armored vehicles and 25,000 Russian troops. Russia lacks the troops to decisively punch through a scale, especially as Ukraine maintains a dense field fortification network immediately west of Pokrovsk. Let me show Pokrovsk on the map. Okay, here's Pokrovsk, all this area. So according to the article, this area took them 20 months to take, huge area, and they lost a lot of, at least 5 divisions worth of armored vehicles and 25,000 troops. Here's Pokrovsk. Just checking here to see their movement. You see on December 1st, December 2nd. Let me show you which one we're looking at. Okay, let's see, I can do this here. This is Pokrovsk here. All right. Where does it stay? Okay, this doesn't let me. Okay, so you see what Pokrovsk, and this on the December 1st, December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It looks like they stop advancing after the 4th. Let's go a bit back, like a month back. This is on October 1st, 2025. Just keep an eye on Pokrovsk here. Here's where Pokrovsk. Here after a week, on the 8th, 15th, 22nd of October, 29th of October, on the 1st of November, 8th of November, 15th of November, 22nd, 29th, on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th. I would have seen advancement after on the Pokrovsk. Besides here, on the 8th, they took the whole Resivka area. Okay, that was another interesting article. If I could find the right page. Hold on. Not here. Not here. Jeez. Here we are. Okay, another headline about technology and threat. US intelligence warns of expanding role of drone missiles in cyber threat. I think we've been like this one last time, so I would not consider this as a new. How they are using the drones, how they are using the AI to this kind of new warfare. We've been through that also Venezuela crisis. How in Venezuela the USA is getting pitched from multi companies. How can they use AI intelligence, AI targeting, AI imaging for the new style of wars, like identifying the boats and so on. Okay. Here it's about Israel, back to Israel. International pressure mounts as generally death toll from Israel Gaza. A new report from Reporters Without Borders, RSF, states that Israel is responsible for 43% of the global journalist death recorded in 2025, with the majority of casualties from the Gaza conflict. This is the reason they stopped streaming the Gaza. The sharp statistics fuse accusations of war crimes and may galvanize international pressure for accountability. Media organizations and human rights groups could push for formal investigation or sanctions, create a scrutiny on Israel and Gaza operations. The optics of high civilian and journalist casualty may damage Israel's diplomatic standing long-term, especially among Western allies. For global audience, the conflict becomes less abstract, raising more moral and political stakes with many influence foreign policy decisions. There's some articles here. It's one article from Reuters, I see, and an article from the yenisafak.com about Israel. Some images here. For the investigation of key attacks in the Sudan war. So it's like a summary. The global conflict risk remains elevated. Overlapping crises in Ukraine, Gaza, Lebanon, potential spillovers in Middle East dominate strategic forecast. Emerging technologies, drones, cyber tools, missiles are reshaping how wars are fought, increasing unpredictability and raising the threshold for escalation. The US people of Middle East to create power competition. Russia and China may have regional volumes which could be exploited by local actors to shift power balance. So that's how it's been shifting, the wars, the tensions, the escalations, how the Gaza ceasefire is holding to the second phase, the situation in Ukraine, situation in Russia. And I believe we covered today's news. We're gonna go briefly through the Google News as always to see if there's any news there we missed of the last moment. Let me check. Let's see to the deep state map. And let's go to Google News. Okay. Toxin death threats and the eye of Elon Musk, who is Australian woman taking the social media giants. The country bans social media for young teens, most don't plan to comply. Upstate all over again, Trump and again the boat strikes video. Trump says hedgehog will decide whether to release boat strike video. Let's say top stories. Is JD Vance already running for president? The Supreme Court wants to know. Supreme Court difficult to read case, campaign funds limited. Supreme Court divided over and God-led effort to leave campaign. I don't see anything we should cover here. Let's see for the US. It's mostly politics, so I don't want to go over those. Let's say the following nuts. Okay, 2 huge earthquakes right within days. Is it a warning? I think here they're probably mentioning the Japan. Yes, the Japan's earthquake last night, 7.6. There was a tsunami warning, but after it was tsunami warning was eased, the tsunami never happened. But Japan is warning people to be in alert for maybe for a bigger one. As we know, in the past, Japan was struck by a 9 Richter earthquake, which actually killed, if I remember well, like 19,000 people in the past. So let's see this here. Japan issued a mega quake advisory Tuesday after magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck on the northern part of the country, causing 34 mostly mild injuries, some damage to roads and buildings. I have the map here where it was struck. This is from the quake. That's at 11:16 Japan local time, December 8th, last night before midnight. And that's the area west of Japan, Aomori, close to Hokkaido, where it was epicenter. The government has estimated that an offshore mega quake could cause a tsunami up to 98 feet and kill nearly 200,000 people. That's a serious tsunami. Officials said the advisory is not prediction, and the probability of a magnitude A or larger quake is only about 1%. But there is hope advisory will serve as a wake-up call for quake that could have the devastation of the 2011 disaster that killed nearly 20,000 people and destroyed a nuclear plant. There is said to be increased risk of subsequent magnitude 8 or larger quake within the next week. So they are still under the scare of having a bigger one within the next week. Usually the scientists, they don't know if the quake it was the main one or it was before the big one, or if smaller will follow or bigger one will follow. They don't know. They never know actually until it's too late. Officials are urging residents, especially along coastal areas, to be well prepared so they can grab an emergency bag and run as soon as possible if a bigger quake hits. Japan Earthquake Japan Meteorology Agency said Monday's powerful earthquake struck off the eastern coast of Aomori, the northernmost prefecture of Japan's main island of Honshu, and just south of the northern island of Hokkaido. Here's the epicenter. It's a point magnitude. A map shows the location of the shaking intensity of 7 magnitude quake in northern Japan. The tremor was something that we never experienced. It lasted maybe for about 20 seconds. One resident said, "We are holding our children, a 2-year-old girl and 1-year-old boy, in our arms. The shaky reminded me of the disaster in 2011, he said. The quake temporarily increased potential risk in the regions of Hokkaido and Sanriku coast. That's where the Pacific plate beneath Japan forms the two trenches, the Japan Trench and the Hiroshima Trench, that have caused many large quakes in the past." Here it's a photo of the whole street collapsing. It's a road in the Tohoku town on December 9th after the 7.5 earthquake, north of Japan. Experts say that the earthquake, a tsunami 2011, was caused by movement associated with the Japan Trench. It spans from off the eastern coast of Chiba to Aomi, and the Hiroshima Trench goes from the eastern coast of Hokkaido to the North Island and the Curies. Okay. Set the magnitude 9.0 quake on the March 2011 that devastated a large source of Japan's northern coast occurred 2 days after a magnitude 7.3 tremor. So that's why they're scared now of having a bigger one, because in the past, in 2011, the one that killed 20,000 people, the 9.0 Richter earthquake, it happened after. First it was a 7.3, and that happened after. Now they have a 7.6, so they're scaring if they're gonna get a big one like in 2011 after this one. That's why it's scary. The 2011 quake caused a tsunami that battered northern coast towns. The tsunami, which topped 50 feet in some areas. Where am I? Okay. Look, I was wrapped on the article. Okay. Another of the offshore mega could cause up to 98-foot tsunami in the region, kill as many as 199,000 people, destroy up to 200,000 houses and buildings, and cause estimated economic damage up to 31 trillion yen. That's about 198 billions. According to an estimate by the government, it says as many as 42,000 people could suffer from hypothermia in the winter. The areas covered by the advisory extend across 182 municipalities from Hokkaido to Chiba Prefecture. Okay, here's about history. About 2023 damage estimate for a possible mega quake. The government said magnitude 9.1 quake could generate a tsunami exceeding 33 feet within minutes, killing as many as 323,000 people, destroying more than 2 million buildings, and causing economic damage exceeding 200 trillion yen in the region. Officials call people to be calm and prepare. That's terrible. A tsunami and a quake can cause hundreds of thousands of people to lose their home, many to die. Okay. Hundreds of thousands Cambodians, Thais, it's from New York Times. Yeah, there was this article. Hundreds of thousands of Thais and Cambodians flee. People escape from a deadly border conflict, authorized said, which some sheltering at the racetrack in Thailand and others near temples in Cambodia. Thousands of people have evacuated to flee the fighting. They left home in a fearful scramble during the summer, seeking refuge in the crowds of racetracks that had been transformed into a makeshift evacuation center after a war erupted between Thailand and Cambodia. Another war, Thailand versus Cambodia. Now, five months later, they are back in the same tents which had been left standing. Was among the thousands of people who huddled under blankets on Monday, right, sleeping next to a motor racing track at the Chang International Circuit Stadium in the Thai city of Piram, like in the July. She was there because of a decades-old border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia had erupted again in deadly fighting. I've gotten used to living this way with the fear, said Miss Sapita, 33, who arrived at the center with a 2-year-old son, her 74-year-old mother, and 4 containers of clothes, bedding pillows and blankets. There was a fire in the Jakarta, killing 22 people. Fire rips through a 7-story building in Jakarta, killing 22 people. Article by Reuters. A fire set through 7-story building in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta. On Tuesday, killing 20 people, police said. The fire has now not been extinguished. Recovered bodies have been sent to hospital for identification. Says there are their names. The building houses the office of Terra Dome Indonesia, a unit Japanese firm Terra Drone Corporation, which provides drones for area saving activities with clients in the mining and agriculture sector. Some company employees were having lunch in the building at the same time, while others had left the office. Based on the information gathered so far, batteries from a drone caught fire, but the cause of the fire, the point of origin, is still being investigated. Terra Drone CEO apologized in statement for the stress and inconvenience caused for the local community and customers, adding that was investigating the impact of blaze of its business. The blaze came nearly 2 weeks after a huge fire swept through high-rise development complex in Congo on November 26. Okay, that's all I have for you for today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you got information. You found value in the informations. Please subscribe, like the video, comment under the video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like this kind of news. If anything you don't like, your own opinion. If you agree with the analysis we make on the France, Ukraine, or Gaza. I would love to hear your comments on the video. Of course, be respectful, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and also thank you all for joining us as members. More videos coming soon, and see you on the next one. Let me see the chat. If something on the chat, I can. If any comment on the chat, we have voting. Do you believe the Gaza ceasefire might last longer? Let's see the results. If I can find the. Okay, here we are. Okay, let's end the poll. So, 89% believe the ceasefire might not last longer, and 11% believe that it will last. Okay, thank you all for watching. If you watch this after, let me hear you on the comments, on the chat, under the video. On the video under, you can comment. And thank you all. Take care. We have a 24/7 live cameras of Venezuela. And also I have the app, the earthquakes. With the latest earthquakes, we have the 3D globe turning, showing the last quakes as they happen, live. 4 cameras of Venezuela, live. So follow that stream, and of course I will let you know. Press the bell to get notified when we go live again.